What? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it's pretty loud. Is this good temperature or not temperature? Volume, not temperature. It started out really loud. Hmm? Yeah, yeah, a bunch of them were over there at Randall's for the guys. So they always kind of stay to the last minute. I saw that she called, but I was busy. No. Sure. Yeah, my brother helped me get a van fixed, so that was an ordeal. I had to go down there Friday and Saturday, and put all the brakes apart, and I see a bunch of people arriving. We're going to start class anyway. And we are in, this is lesson 4 if you've got your worksheets. And I believe we're ready for question 7 of the questions that I'd written. That brings us to chapter 19, if you want to open your Bibles to chapter 19. We are in the second round of speeches, and Job's second friend, Bildad, has just given a speech. Bildad, like the previous friend, Eliphaz, has taken his arguments, which were already kind of harsh, and he made them harsher. Part of that was instead of using logic and reasoning and evidence, he stoops to personal blows, and even going as far as saying that his boils, losing his property, his children dying, it all must be because they're all dirty, rotten sinners. And he basically says, Job, you know what you've done, and that is kind of the source of your issues. Is all, times of peace would come if you would just admit what you did and make it right with God. Now, we understand that Job doesn't disagree with the fact that God punishes evildoers. However, in his particular case, he knows he is innocent, and there's nothing bad that he's done that makes him worthy of all of this. And so, chapter 9 will be Job's response to Bildad. So I'm going to go ahead and read from chapter 19 and then open it up for you guys to tell me what you see and what you notice. Job responded, "How long will you torment me and crush me with words? These 10 times you've insulted me. You're not ashamed to wrong me. Even if I've truly erred, my error lodges with me. If you indeed vaunt yourselves against me and prove my disgrace to me. Know then that God has wronged me. He has closed his net around me. Behold, I cry violence, I get no answer. I shout for help, but there's no justice. He's walled up my way so that I cannot pass. He's put darkness on my paths. He's stripped my honor from me and removed the crown from my head. He breaks me down on every side, and I am gone. He's uprooted my hope like a tree and kindled his anger against me, considered me as his enemy. His troops come together and build their way up against me and camp around my tent. He's removed my brothers far from me, and my acquaintances are completely estranged from me. My relatives have failed, and my intimate friends have forgotten me. Those who live in my house and my maids consider me a stranger. I am a foreigner in their sight. I call to my servant, but he does not answer. I have to implore to him with my mouth. My breath is offensive to my wife, and I am loathsome to my own brothers. Even young children despise me. I rise up, and they speak against me. All my associates abhor me. Those that I love have turned against me. My bone clings to my skin and my flesh, and I have escaped only by the skin of my teeth. Pity me, O you, my friends, for the hand of God has struck me. Why do you persecute me, as God does? You are not satisfied with my flesh. Oh, that my words were written, that they were inscribed in a book, that with an iron stylus and lead they were engraved in the rock forever. As for me, I know that my Redeemer lives. At the last he'll take his stand on this earth. Even after my skin is destroyed, yet my flesh I shall see God, whom I myself shall behold, and whom my eyes will see and not another. My heart faints within me. If you say, how shall we persecute him? What pretext for a case against him can we find? Then be afraid for the sword yourselves, for wrath brings punishment of the sword, so that you may know there is a judgment. All right, so what do we notice from the way that Job responds to Bildad here? What does he have to say? Yeah. He's all alone, right? He says his servants aren't, they don't respect him anymore. His wife is offended by him. And his, it's little children on the street, instead of like honoring him like they used to, they mock him. He's offensive to everybody around him. So he feels all alone, right? What else do we notice from Job's reaction here, or Job's reaction to Bildad? Go ahead, Joanne.
Well, the first thing he says, how long will you torment me? and break me in pieces with your words, and that's pretty rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're making it worse. They're agonizing him in a time when he needed comfort. It feels like torture, right? And that's not what you want from your friends when you're going through hard times. You want someone to make you feel better, someone to offer comfort, someone to listen to you. And they are only prolonging the agony, right? Good. Okay, Rick?
They are vilifying him for not taking their advice, for rejecting their premise. And that's one of the things that I've experienced. Actually, I'm experiencing it right now. That somebody who, because I don't see the way they see a problem, that I am somehow, you're a fool, you're evil, he's talking about all his friends and people around him who's not accepting him. Wait a minute. I disagree with your conclusion. Why are you making this? Why are you being hostile? But that's it. I mean, it'd be one thing if they had said these things and Job said, "No, I don't agree with that," and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, we just thought we'd offer." But no, they're impugning his motives just because he doesn't agree with their conclusions because he pushes back, and that's really pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah. So you torture me. Now you're my enemy, in fact, and treating me like the enemy. I'm suddenly the bad guy when I've done nothing wrong. So, yeah. And there's no really give and take. There's no back and forth where someone is trying to listen and understand. It's basically trying to win and compete, right? To argue for who's right and who's wrong. Anything else? Observations? Go ahead, Joanne.
Well, he said, "You've taken my family away from me, my brothers and close friends." But really, they must have taken themselves away from Job, not God.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they didn't come to see him and things like that.
Yeah. I'm guessing just the shame of this chronic illness. And Vicky's going to have a comment up here too. But the shame of the chronic illness, the shame of the loss and all of this, I'm guessing that no one wanted to be around him. It just wasn't a pleasant experience for any of them.
He says even the young children despise him, and I rise up and they speak against me.
Yeah. And that is a huge deal for their culture, because in Eastern culture especially, even today, I've been to countries where someone comes in with white hair into the room, and the children will do some sort of a gesture or kiss their hand or something like that. I mean, it was every time I would go to these places and I was traveling with someone who was older than me and had all white hair. It was cool to see little kids just give that deference. And all of a sudden, instead of that, they were mocking him and he's the monster. And I'm sure he didn't look very nice, covered in boils, but still, what a change from going from being a respected member of society to even mocked by children, right? So yeah, their interest is in self-justification. They're not looking for help. I think you guys have all said that already, right? They're looking to be right. They're looking to be, I have all the answers, and they're not actually helpful in any way. So going on to what else Job says, who does he blame for his troubles in this passage? God, right? And that's kind of been his point. Ever since he's made these arguments, he says, God has done this to me. God is the enemy. Verse 21, the hand of God has struck me, and so you persecute me just the same way God does, right? He puts the blame squarely upon God. Now, we know a little more than him about the story. That's not quite fair, is it? God has allowed Satan to do these things, but God certainly is not trying to hammer him into the ground and wall him up and trap him and all of these things. God doesn't trap people. This is Satan's realm, but I really don't know how much he understands about the divine forces working behind the scenes. He feels singled out by God and then ignored by God. And, is this fair? Go ahead, Eric.
No, but I've always took the lesson from this that pretty much fighting for fairness is kind of a moot point, because Jesus dying on the cross was ultimately unfair. Sure. So, and even to the point I don't let my girls, that's not fair. I go, nothing's fair. Christ dying isn't fair. But if we accept that things aren't fair, then life's a lot easier to be right with God.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. Nathan has a comment over here. I think parenting sometimes teaches us a lot about how God deals with us and how he must think about us. Go ahead.
Yeah, even though he blames God for what he's going through, he also still believes that God is his redeemer and he's going to come to his rescue. So he still believes that in the end, even though if this is really from God, he's still going to redeem him.
Yeah, and I think that's significant. That is very significant. He still believes God is his redeemer lives, and someday he's going to see God. That's why he has trouble understanding, why am I singled out right now, right? Rick, did you also have your hand up?
Sorry. In verse 6, he talks about, know then that God has wronged me. It's a very strong statement, and I don't think it is completely accurate. However, what Job is, obviously we know God's not the one anyways, but is it okay for Job to say that? Maybe looking at it from the standpoint of God's allowed this, we have that perspective, but I'm just so impressed, again, kind of tapping into what Nathan was saying, that Job believes God is his oppressor. And yet he still has a concept of God's goodness and righteousness enough to say that there's still someone to even appeal to, but I know he's going to make it right. In other words, this is a means to an end for God, that he sees it as some story God is telling, which is true, actually. But I find that fascinating, considering how little he seems to know.
Yeah. Who knows what he's had revealed to him in the past and what he understands, but he does trust in God, even when he doesn't understand everything that's going on. So go ahead, Bruce.
I've always heard that the description of this book is the patience of Job. I think that's only half right, and being half right, you need more. So it's really his endurance during trial.
Yeah.
And as we see, he still trusts God.
Yeah. He didn't give up on God because he didn't understand and because he was suffering and he was in pain, right? Eric?
I mean, you go back to thinking about the original thing was the devil said he will curse you. So that's where he hasn't.
No.
Even in this worst despair and saying that God has wronged me, he still didn't curse God like his wife did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think many other people in lesser circumstances would have already cursed God by now. God knew this guy's not going to crack. So, but man, it's when God shows a lot of faith in you and Satan attacks, you kind of wish he would not pay attention to you, right? I get where Job's coming from. Like, could you just not brag about me to Satan anymore, and so I don't have to deal with this, Could you find someone else to let this stuff happen to for a while? It feels like it's all on me this day. And we have the expression, when it rains, it pours. Sometimes it seems like stuff comes on in a flood, right? And Job's just done being the center of attention and wants to be ignored. Go ahead.
I was thinking, too, like, the world's perspective a lot of times is God and Satan are equals of the opposite side. But this story proves that point wrong. A person can beat the devil. But I think that's why we have to see the story that God says to that guy, you won't beat that guy.
Yeah. So I'd already asked I had also asked in question 7, if you guys have any New Testament passages that help you understand God's role in suffering. So I'm curious if you guys wrote any of these down, or even if you didn't write one down, if one of them comes to your mind. Jerry has his hand up.
One that helps me is Romans 5:3, where he talks about tribulation produces perseverance and character and hope.
Yeah. And we certainly see that in Job, don't we? All of those things, his integrity and character, his perseverance, and his hope. He hasn't stopped hoping in God, even if he doesn't see how it's all going to work out. I like that one. Bruce?
We've often talked about comparison to Jesus. There's a passage in Hebrews, and I didn't remember it, but it says something like, Jesus suffered all these things to bring many sons to glory. So just like Job sees at the end God's perspective.
Yeah.
So Jesus on the cross knew his perspective in saving mankind.
Good. I believe that's in chapter 2, somewhere in the middle of that chapter. But yeah, I think it's very good. 2:9. Okay, good. Go ahead.
I don't have the passage, but I remember Paul saying that we run a race. And I've run races, and if you're running a race to run, you're never comfortable the whole time. Because if you get comfortable, you're going to lose the race.
Yeah. Yeah, and often the Bible describes this life and the trials of it like a physical event, right? Wrestling or boxing or a race. And we understand the difficulties that comes in competing and training and things like that. Good. Other passages that help you understand suffering and temptation.
I can't remember where it's at right now, but all things working together for good to those that love the Lord. Just the idea of that the saint throughout all of human history has always had to take the long view of history, that Yahweh's the Lord of history, but it's going to get choppy along the way, and you have to endure and trust at the end. So
Good. I think it's Romans 8. Trying to 8:28 somewhere. Trying to use my brain here. Okay.
That for I am persuaded that neither death nor life nor all these different things is going to separate us from the love of Christ.
Yes.
Is that the same one you were talking about?
yeah,
Yep. And Nathan has his hand up too. No, good. Yeah. Romans is all about this stuff. I imagine they were going through some hard times too, just from my understanding of the book. Good. Nathan?
Yeah, in the same book of Romans 8, it says, "For I consider the suffering of this present time are no worth comparing to the future glory that is going to be revealed to us." So, we might go through suffering, and in as much as it hurts, still cannot be compared to the glory that will be revealed to us in due time.
Yeah. And I do wonder, what did Job think about the afterlife? What did he think about heaven, right? Because he obviously had to think that someday it's all going to pay off. It's still worth it to serve God. I really don't know how much he knew. And that's kind of the big question. But he knew enough to know it's worth it. It's worth it to serve God, even if it's hard right now, right? The sufferings of this present age. I'll give you, if anyone has the other passages, and you might think of them as we go, I'll give you two that I put up here. 1 Corinthians 10, I know Jerry uses this one a lot. I don't know if he wrote it down, but that God will not give us more than we are able, but with temptation provides a way of escape, right? That passage, Job must have been capable of quite a bit, right? If God gave him this much trouble, or allowed him to have this much trouble. But God's always going to give you a way through the trouble and a way past the trouble, some escape route. James 1 also reminds us that good gifts come from God, not bad stuff. That oftentimes, whenever specifically we're tempted by sin, this isn't really about external forces, but when you're tempted to sin, God doesn't make you that way. God didn't put that in your heart. A lot of dark temptation comes from our own heart and our own mind. So, but God is a Father of lights, and Him there's no shifting of shadow. All good and perfect gifts come from Him. So there's just two passages that I wrote down that helped me think about God and the role of suffering and temptation. Bruce?
Chapter 19 is almost halfway through the book, and really the key verse to the whole thing is, as you've mentioned, I know that my Redeemer lives, and in the end he will stand on the earth, and
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the greatest confessions that Job makes. And with such little understanding compared to what our revelation has told us throughout the rest of Scripture, right? So, I mean, let's just go ahead and bring that right into question 8, because the end of chapter 19 here in Job is really important. I know that my Redeemer lives. I really think that comparing the book of Habakkuk to Job 19, honestly, I kind of think he must have had some of this in mind. Some of the wording is very similar, some of the language. And Habakkuk was writing in a time when good, godly people were being oppressed by the wicked. And he said, God, how long is this going to happen? When are you going to come and fix this problem? And so the more I compare the two, their situations, while Habakkuk's not going through personal disease and personal loss, he still is witnessing things that don't seem fair, that he doesn't have answers to. And so in that way, these two guys are similar. So how do you think the book of Job would help someone like Habakkuk, or someone else who's a righteous sufferer, or David, or even people today going through hard times? What do you think is the role of the book of Job in helping other people get through what they have to face? Go ahead and start with you, Eric.
I mean, there's bad things are going to happen and we won't understand, but having faith will get you through it.
Yeah, we see that example in him. Bruce has also got a comment here. Okay. Yeah. And faith doesn't mean you have all the answers. I'm somebody who likes to have all the answers. I'm someone who likes to be right and to have the knowledge and to have exact book, chapter, and verse for everything. But understanding, I'm not always going to know why. But I know whom I've believed, and I'm convinced that he's able to keep what I've committed until that day, right? I mean, we understand that you don't have to have all the answers to still trust in him, right? Other thoughts? What does the book of Job do for other believers? Jacqueline?
Well, two things that I thought of was, one, you can kind of look at Job's situation and be like, it could be so much worse. Not that I want someone to tell me that.
Sure.
But then the other thing that I was thinking about is, spoiler alert, when God answers him and talks to him, you get to hear that God cares about you. He cares about his people, but he also, puts Job in his place and is like, you don't know everything that's going on in the background. And so, keeping that in mind, that things could be happening in the background that you have no idea what the main goal is or what the end goal is in some situations.
Yeah. God's picture is bigger than ours. His perspective as creator and sustainer of the universe is more than we know. And so witnessing that conversation, and Habakkuk actually, by the way, has a conversation with God too, which says kind of the same stuff, and lets you know, okay, I can trust him anyway. Go ahead.
And that Yahweh is worthy of adoration and worship and respect, even if you believe he is assaulting you, which kind of, when you look at the way that the rest of the world thought of their gods, that they saw them in the role that Job kind of is in thinking about right now. They saw them as both tormentor and redeemer. And of course, we know our God is righteous. He's not the tormentor. But in Job's misunderstanding of that, that Yahweh truly is, even if God were to allow these things to happen or to do them, that the book presents it as Job thinking, well, God still was worthy of my adoration, my obedience. And that's, to most people today, they would look at that and say, the first sign of God possibly being my tormentor, I'm out of here. Whereas Job is holding on for dear life, but he's not letting go, and no one here would be suggesting that well, curse God and die except his wife. That doesn't occur to him, and I marvel at that, because I'm used to thinking of God and knowing God as an adversary who causes the problems, and he's the one that saves and redeems. But what if my concept was, but he's also the one that hurts me? But he's still, the book concludes with, he is still worthy of that, even with that misunderstanding. Yeah. I think that's very profound when you get right down to it.
Yeah. That's why New Testament and book of James, he's like, consider Job, right? We still need to be thinking about Job because he's still just as relevant as ever. Good. So I think I said the same things you guys did in answering this, but God hears and acts, though not always in expected ways. And just because it feels like he's not listening because he doesn't answer the way that you want, it doesn't mean he didn't hear or that he's not doing anything about it, right? And we kind of talked about this a little bit, but how can our suffering personally help others deal with their own? So we talked about how Job helps sufferers, but how can my suffering when I go through stuff, how does that help other people? Eric?
teaches us how to help them if we've been through something the same.
Good. Yeah, I put 2 Corinthians 1 up there, which is that once God has comforted us, we can comfort other people, right? Once we've learned our lessons, once we've been through the ringer, we can come around and help other people. Luke 22, Jesus tells Peter, I've prayed for you because you're going to fall, that once you return, you'll be able to strengthen your brothers. So you're going to mess up, Peter. You're going to mess up to give in to temptation. But I prayed to God that whenever you make this right, you're going to come back and use your mistake to help somebody else out and help make them stronger. And so I don't think God expects perfection or even imagines perfection, but he does know that his faithful people will make things right and use their hardship and come around and help other people with it. In fact, we're expected to do that, right? So, the question is always, what is God trying to teach me? But also, what might I be able to help other people with? And that kind of gets us out of ourself. Because when we're going through hard times, we're very self-absorbed. Just kind of how it is, right? Other thoughts on those concepts? Bruce?
Great minds have argued and pondered and tried to understand good and evil, and they've written much. I haven't read an awful lot, but the best little book that I have, if you like C.S. Lewis, is his book called The Problem of Pain. And I recommend it if you want to delve more into this.
I ditto that one. I agree. So it's a book, someone went through some hard things and is trying to grapple with it and write through it and think it out, right? So it's helpful to have someone who's been there, gone through the trouble, and we can read their thoughts and how he dealt with all of this. Vicki?
I think it's I lost the chapter there, but I think it's 2 Corinthians 4. Wait a minute. Look, 2 Corinthians 1 and verse 4, he says, who comforts us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort those who are in trouble with the comfort with which by we are comforted by God.
Good. Yeah, that's a powerful passage, isn't it? That whenever he helps us through our trouble, we can turn around and help other people. Yeah. Good. All right, staying in chapter 19, let's talk about that comment. He says, I know what? That my Redeemer lives, right? And he knows also that at the last, he's going to take his stand on the earth. He knows that he will see God, right? These are powerful concepts. I guess I'm going on to question 10. I'm going to skip ahead and go to question 10 since that's how we're starting. We'll go back to question 9 in a second. So, what else does he know from this? Things that he's certain of. Jerry?
Well, this scripture makes me believe more that he believes in the afterlife, because he knows that he's going to see God after he dies, and he's excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so as much as he dreads things on earth, there is this sense of it's going to be okay when I see him, right? This will all get sorted out. I trust that he'll redeem me. Good. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on the warning to his friends would seem to be, God is going to square everything up, and you're not going to like what he has to say to you at the end of things, which is exactly what happens. And so Job was confident of his own guiltlessness. David had that same kind of confidence, even though David was not saying he was sinless, but he's like, I know, I'm okay. God, search me, try me, and that's the kind of same attitude Job has. That when God does that, all these people who've been pointing fingers are going to be put in their place.
Yeah, I wonder how his friends felt in their conscience, don't you? Like they kept going, so they probably didn't feel guilty yet. But he's giving them a warning here, isn't he? He's like, you better stop and think about the way you're talking right now. Because not only will I face God someday, but you will too. And for those that God is their Redeemer, that's a good thing. But if you're on the other side, God is your judge, and that's scary stuff, right? I put a couple of things on here you can look at. Go ahead, Bruce.
I don't know where Job, none of us knows where Job occurs. If it's after the time of Moses, and following up on Jerry's comment about the afterlife, when God told Moses, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that gives an understanding of the afterlife, that we do not just disappear, but we continue as a sentient, as we say, or reasoning beings.
Yeah. And I wish I did know exactly when it happened and all of that. God gives hints throughout history. Things are going to resolve. There's more than just this physical world. But whatever he knew, he did believe there is something after. So, good. Anything else? I put up here, he knows someone's going to defend him eventually. He knows that God is a living being, right, as opposed to dead gods, not real gods, gods of their own design and making. He knows he's going to see God, and he knows that they will too. So there's that scary warning for them if they don't shape up, because he knows he's done nothing wrong. And they're accusing him anyway and calling him dirty, rotten sinner. And he says that's not me, right? So think about it. Who's ultimately proven correct? Yeah. Well, and God, really, he tells Job's friends to repent. So I think really God being correct is the right answer, right? Between Job and his friends, who's right? It's God. God says, you guys, though, have argued in such a way, he actually doesn't tell Job to offer sacrifices. So while Job may say some things that are incorrect, I don't think he stepped into the realm of a sin that needs to be repented from and changed from, although Job does, I'm sorry what I've done in the way I've talked. But his friends are wrong. And they presume too much, and they say things that go too far. And they have to repent for the way they treated Job. Good. So let's go back. Sorry, I missed question 9. So this is something I'm going to keep bringing up when the language sounds like the language of the Psalms, but it also sounds kind of opposite. Do you think that's a sign that Job has fallen, that he's rejected God? Certainly, I think the answer is no. But any thoughts about just as you try to think from that and think through that? Eric?
I thought about how, God allows us to be mad at him as long as we don't disrespect or curse him. I mean, which is awesome, because you see when powerful human leaders people get mad at him, they cut him down. And they may be against a human leader, a legitimate reason to be mad. Or, and even in this case, I think Job has a legitimate reason to despair. He doesn't know what's going on, and it's awful. And he gets kind of angry at God, but God knows what he's allowed to happen, so he allows it to happen. He allows Job to be mad.
Yeah.
And not disrespectful, but kind of, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, good. I really do think God allows that latitude, right, to wrestle with the way that we feel and we're thinking and all of that. Go ahead, Bruce.
To show how how small my pains are, the worst I've ever felt was with stomach flu, and boy, I just wanted to die. And this is just very minimum compared to what Job went through, and yet, in all of his agony and all of his questioning, then we see this chapter 9, verse 23, I think it is.
Yeah. And the worst things that we can encounter, I think Jacqueline said earlier, at least Job probably had it worse than most everyone ever will. It's maybe not the most comforting thing to say to them in the minute. You're going through stomach flu, or you're getting kidney stones or shingles, or you went through childbirth. Well, Job had it worse. That's probably not going to help anybody. But knowing that even going through what he did, he still didn't give up faith in God, right? And that's a powerful testimony. So I wrote a novel up here, apparently. Speaking from pain, grief, and sorrow is different than losing faith altogether. I think that's been the point of this class, right? He actually still believes in God, which is why he's having such difficulty making sense of his troubles. So you know God is good. And maybe it does kind of come down to a young child who doesn't quite understand rewards and punishments real well. You know, my parents are very strict with me. I don't like it. I want to do what I want to do. I want life to be better and easier and fun all the time. Why are there these consequences? And there is, I mean, God's even more of an extreme difference than our little children with us, right? But we just don't have all the answers. We don't have the big picture. And yet he's willing to let us have that latitude to explore our feelings in saying some harsh things, right? But he doesn't deny God altogether in this at all. Other thoughts? Rick?
I think it's a very humbling thing to realize that I exist, we exist for God's purposes, for his glory, for his good pleasure. And that includes the previous question you had about asking about what others can learn from our suffering. But I'll just speak for myself. I have allowed myself to believe sometimes that that's too much. That, well, I mean, yeah, God loves me, and so, you know, allowing me to go through this kind of suffering for his purposes, that's not within his purpose. But then you look at a story like this, and you look at a story like Jesus, and realize, well, there are times when those who love him are going to be called upon to suffer immensely, and that is the good pleasure of his will at that particular point in time. Now, we are blessed that we have a God who is so powerful and so loving that he can take that suffering that serves hit whatever purpose he has, and also make it a purpose that affects us, that makes us better. And how that's not true of any other God throughout the ages of mankind. If they willed for you to suffer, you just had to deal with that, and nobody would say that it would be good. No, there wouldn't be anyone there to say all things will work together for good. That's not how they thought. They just accepted the fact that this guy's more powerful than me, or this god or goddess, and if this is what they want, so be it. But our God not only has that right, but we can always count on the fact that there is a motive behind it that is not just for a purpose that is separate from us. There's a purpose separate from us. I'm confident of that. But there's also a purpose for us. And so no matter what we go through, we can know that as we glorify him in this situation, it is also something that will be good for us somehow, some way. That God he doesn't do it that way. I don't know if I'm making any sense or not. And so that gives us a twofold pleasure of knowing it's going to make me better, and it's going to serve some other purpose, some other way that I might not even be able to see.
Yeah. We just have such a limited perspective, don't we? And Hebrews 12, who does God reprove? Those whom he loves, right? And a parent that provided no discipline for their child does not love their child. And while God may not be the source of temptation, he does allow temptation to exist in this sin-affected world, knowing that his people will shine in their character, and they're going to come forth on the other side stronger and better for it. I really thought we'd get further. That's okay, though. I don't want to rush through Zophar's speech. So we'll do Zophar's speech and Job's response, and we'll probably get into the third round of speeches next time. But I do just want to say a little bit about that. Did everyone get a chance to copy this down that was wanting to copy it down? If you didn't, I can always email my notes to you or something. But in Zophar's speech, one thing I want you to notice is he doesn't necessarily even have like a whole lot of new information to offer. It's kind of like all these guys have said all this stuff, and even just look at verses 1 through 3 real quick. It's kind of funny. Why does he feel like he needs to speak up? Zophar the Naamathite answered, "Therefore my disquieting thoughts made me respond because my inward agitation. I listen to the reproof which insults me. The spirit of my understanding makes me answer." And He's like, I just couldn't stop thinking about how much you irritate me. And so I felt like I had to speak up again. And so I just want to take like 4 minutes here and just talk about for a minute, do we always have to respond? Because this is something I've struggled with. I have 6 siblings. We were really good at argumentation and debate, right? I literally took argumentation and debate classes in college. I'm good at it. I like to kind of do the go back and forth. And it's fun to do that to me. And sometimes it can go too far. But we have to ask, is it even profitable for me to speak up? Am I just speaking up because something just bothers me and annoys me? Or do I think I'm going to accomplish some good? Do I think I'm going to change some hearts and minds? Is there... Now, maybe there is somebody saying something that is absolutely sinful, and everyone seems to be agreeing with them, and no one is answering, and I need to be the one lone voice to speak up. Maybe there's a time to speak up. I'm not saying never. But I do think, before you open your mouth, you need to ask yourself, why am I opening my mouth? Now, you still might open your mouth. That might come out. But what is my purpose? Zophar, literally, this is the most purposeless speech. He says, you just irritated me, and I didn't like to hear what you had to say. Eliphaz, at least, he thinks he's in sin. He's trying to fix his problem. Bildad says, all this stuff's your fault. If you make it right with God, you'll get peace in your life again. Zophar's like, bad people get punished, good people get rewarded. You annoy me, Job. Like, that's it. Let's be careful to decide, is it worth keeping silent or speaking up? And try to show some wisdom and discretion in that. As we look through Zophar, I'm just going to say, I don't think he offers a whole lot new. I actually agree with a lot of the things Zophar says, but it's not really thought through that much as far as why add it. Do you guys have any thoughts just on that concept? Should I speak up or should I not? That sort of thing. Things that you've learned that have helped you not put your foot in your mouth when you used to do that kind of thing, or I'm just curious, whatever. I'll just leave that open for you guys if there's anything you want to say. Does anyone have rules for yourself when you should chime in and when you shouldn't?
Yes, but I don't follow them very well.
If I had the answer to how to fix that, I would give you all the answers. But go ahead, Eric.
Mine is am I speaking up to help or to gotcha?
Yeah. Am I busy trying to listen to their argument so I know how to respond, or am I actually trying to help somebody, right? Bruce?
I'm trying to remember a saying that's kind of funny. A foolish person will give ample evidence by speaking of his foolishness.
Yep. I think I remember something like that. It was like, it's better to keep your mouth closed and let everyone think you're a fool rather than to open your mouth and erase all doubt, right? Zophar erased all doubt, I think. Elihu's going to take him to task later for it. Like, you guys are just blabbing on here, right? Yeah. There's a time for talking and there's a time for not. And we would do well. You can go to Philippians chapter 4. There's a pretty good list. Is it true? Is it honorable? Is it of good repute? Like, why am I sharing these things? Why am I repeating these things? Is it to help somebody out? Or am I just trying to win an argument? Am I trying to look good? Am I trying to make myself feel better? To justify myself and make myself not feel guilty? Or is it worth it to speak up? So I can't be there for you at every conversation to make that determination. But let's learn from Zophar and all of these friends here to try to do better if this is something we struggle with. Thanks, everybody. We'll cover these last 2 chapters next time. Just put them back in the room.
Good evening, everybody. We'll start tonight with You Do Not Change. God of salvation, you do not change. Through all creation, not change. Waking or sleeping, safe is your keeping, ending all weeping. You do not change.
I'm going to try it down here tonight. Good evening, everyone. Our Delighting in God exhortation tonight comes from Psalm 37, verses 3 and 4. If you want to open your Bibles there, you can do that. I'm also going to have it up on the PowerPoint. But I'm really glad that Rick gave me this text. It just happens to be what was our daily Bible reading on Friday. So I'm thankful that Ethan picked the Psalms, this section of Psalms, to be reading through right now. It's been really impactful for me. And I was thankful to Rick for giving me this text because I just love Psalm 37. It is one of my favorites, has grown in years. And at first I was like, wow, great. I get to talk about this verse and then how it relates to the other psalm. And then finally it became a big challenge because there's no way I can talk through this passage in the 10 to 12 minutes that are allotted to me. So, because I'd like to break down each phrase, and there's so many good themes throughout this book about inheriting the land and not being cut off and delighting in God, God's delighting in us. So the question is, how do I best use now 8 minutes that I have left to go through this? So really, what I'd like to do, I just want us to know this text. And I'm going to put it up here. Let's just see, it's this one right here. I want us to know this text, to have it in our minds, and to live it, to breathe it, because it's such a great passage. The whole chapter, the whole psalm is great, but let's listen to this. Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land, cultivate faithfulness, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. It's kind of like that Proverbs 3, 4, and 5, that one as well. I love these texts that are just mottos for life. And so I want us to commit this to memory tonight. So we're going to do a little bit of, what do we call that? Call and response, okay? I want us to get this one in our heads, and hopefully it'll stay there. So I'm gonna put it up here. I just want us to go through these 6 statements and have those in our head. It's real simple. Trust in the Lord, do good, dwell in the land, cultivate faithfulness, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So let's hear everybody. Let's say this together. Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. Okay. Let's say it together. Let's see if we can do it together. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in God, and he will give you the desires of your heart. I'm sorry, see, I'm messing it up. I'm messing you all up, so I need to do this. So, all right, I heard everybody do that. Men, let's hear it. Men, trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. Okay, women, let's hear it together. Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land, cultivate faithfulness, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Okay, I'm not hearing kids. I think you can beat the women on this one. Yeah, but we're going to come back to you all later. But kids, anyone that's under the age of 20, okay? Can you hear this? All right. Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. All right. Seniors over 60. I'm expecting something here, okay? You're going to have to, I'm trying to look around, those of us that are here. I'm not one of them yet, but okay. All right. Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. All right. Parents, we're talking to our children, okay? Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. Grandparents. How many grandparents we got here? Raise your hand if you're a grandparent. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's be real good and loud. Okay. We got to make up for less numbers. Grandparents, trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. Okay. People born in a month ending in R. Okay? I think that's October, November, December, September. Okay? Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. People born in a month ending in Y. Okay? Okay? Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. All right, everybody born in a month that does not end in R or Y. All right? Trust in the Lord. Do good. Dwell in the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. All right, lastly, anyone that was born on a day of the week that ends in Y. Okay? Okay? Trust in the Lord. Do good. Cultivate the land. Cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Let's remember that. If we can help anybody tonight to trust in the Lord, start that path of doing good, dwelling in the land, cultivating faithfulness, delighting in God, so that we receive the desires of our heart. Please come to the front while we stand and sing.
The sands of time are sinking, the dawn of heaven breaks, the summer morn I've sighed for, the fair sweet morn awakes. Dark, dark hath been the midnight, but day spring is at hand, and glory, glory dwelleth in Emmanuel's land. O Christ, he is the fountain, the deep sweet well of love. The streams of earth I've tasted, more deep I'll drink above. There to an ocean fullness his mercy doth expand, and glory, glory dwelleth in Emmanuel's land. The King therein is beauty, without a veil is seen. It were a well-spent journey, though 7 days between. any that need to take the Lord's Supper this evening? I do not see anyone.